Hi, LGUMC. Welcome to our first ever Grace Point, a midweek devotional to help us reconnect with God, with one another, and with our deepest selves. It's funny that many of us thought 2020 would be a year of clarity, of sharpened vision, of awakening to a deeper sense of purpose and focus. And yet here we are in the midst of greater uncertainty than we've perhaps ever known, and each day brings a new reality. And yet crises like these are opportunities to clarify and focus, aren't they? Even in the midst of uncertainty, we have the ability to slow down and remember what matters most. In fact, sometimes I think that is the biggest benefit of a crisis. It's an opportunity to step back, to reflect, and to remember what truly matters in life. For me, what matters most is to remember what I believe to be deeply true about us in our humanity, about our lives and our purpose and the power of our God. I want to share a story with you. It happened to me about 20 years ago, and it was definitely a clarifying moment. If you're a member of this church, you've heard it before because you know pastors like to tell stories about themselves over and over again. This happened while I was living in Arizona. It was in the middle of a summer, and if any of you are familiar with Arizona summers, you know it rains. It rains a lot. Summers in Arizona are not just a drizzle, they are called monsoons for a reason. And in this particular summer, it had rained day after day for several weeks. The washes had filled, the streets had flooded, and finally we were up for a clear weekend. No rain, just sun. And a friend of mine suggested that we go up to a river and have some just floating down the river fun for the day. It sounded like a great idea. I didn't even second guess it until we got to the river. It became abundantly clear that there were very few people rafting or kayaking or canoeing that day because the water was raging. It was right up to the edge of the banks and it was rapid, to say the least. But we decided to get in. Put the raft in, the oars in, the cooler in the center, and we were prepared for a fun afternoon until about 10 minutes into that river rafting trip, in which we hit rapids and we capsized. And I floated there for a second, watching my friend and the raft and the paddles and the cooler all go down the river. In my panic, I reached up and I found a branch that was hanging from the side of the riverbank. And I held onto that branch as if my life depended upon it. I held onto that branch and I felt the power of the water slowly taking away one shoe after the other, one sock after the other, and eventually my shorts too. I knew if I ever got out of the river, it was going to be an embarrassing walk back to the car, but I couldn't let go. I couldn't let go of that branch. I was terrified that underneath the water, there would be a submerged rock. I would hit my head and never come to the surface. I was terrified that underneath the water, there would be a tangle of branches from the tree I was hanging on to, that I would get caught and never come back to the surface. And so I kept hanging on, even though I knew I couldn't hang on forever. And then into my mind came a question. What do you truly believe? What do you truly believe? I knew it was the voice of God because I was instantly calmed. And I began to think about that. What did I truly believe? I realized I believed that I was not alone in that moment, that Jesus was very present with me. I believed in the goodness and the power of God. I believed that even if I did hit a rock or get tangled in the branches, even if I never surfaced from that water, I was held in the arms of God's grace, and in an ultimate way, I was okay. I was safe. And so I began to chant to myself, I believe, I believe, I believe. And I let go. I let go, and I let those rapid waters carry me where I needed to go next. I popped up, of course, out of the water in just a matter of seconds, and after a couple of minutes of floating down the river, I arrived into a shallow and calm area in which I found my friend already seated on the riverbank waiting for me. And yes, I had a long and embarrassing walk back to the car, but I was safe and secure in the arms of God always. I found my courage in remembering what I truly believed. This is a moment for many of us in which we face so much uncertainty and difficulty in our personal lives, perhaps in the world so obviously, and yes, changes and potential challenges in the life of our church. But it's important to remember what we truly believe. We can let go of the metaphorical branches of what we've held onto because we know there is a faithful and loving God who will carry us along through the rivers of life to our next destination. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid in the face of the challenges and the uncertainties. Remember what you truly believe and let go. Trust in the power of God. I believe that no matter what difficulty we face in life, there is the enduring presence of love. I believe we are not alone. I believe in the ultimate goodness of life, and yes, even the ultimate goodness of people. And I believe that when we live our lives in deep connection to that ultimate goodness, life becomes what we really want it to be. Life becomes a reflection of love, and love always wins. This week, as you face perhaps a sense of overwhelm with your spouse and your children at home with you, you face a sense of overwhelm as you look at all the news around the world. Take a moment and remember what you truly believe about life and God and yourself and your friends and your community. Let what you truly believe clarify your purpose and give you the strength that you need for this moment and for all the moments ahead. God is still with us. God is faithful. And God is bigger than what we're facing right now. I pray that you will have a graceful, loving, and faith-filled, joyful week. I'll see you on Sunday.